the screen. This is the last topic before we've done them all. Once we've done today's topic, that'll be every topic from the last 4 exams split up into the 12 areas. And my intention is to next week start looking at full exams again so we can see how they're pulled from different areas of the exam. And then it gives you kind of that full circle of we've picked things out from every exam into topics and we've hit those okay, and then we're going to then put them all back in the exam and look at how they kind of put certain questions in certain exams, because not every topic appears in every exam. There are kind of some topics that don't appear every exam because they appear slightly differently in another question, but there are questions that definitely appear in every exam. Compound interest is not one of them. Of the 4 exams that we have that are retired, that the most recent retired ones, as you can see, there are only 3. So it appears 3 in 4 exams, so nearly every time, but not quite. So let's have a look. Generally with compound interest, it's the same sort of marks. Let me just let that person in my answer. Wicked.
Does it carry 3 marks or 2 marks? I think I've seen it with
3, 4, and 2. So on average 3, but sometimes it's, sometimes it boosts up to 3, sometimes it boosts up to 4. If it's 4, it generally is saying, right, work out the compound interest and then there's something else to happen. If it's 3, it's similar to that. Yeah, work out the compound interest and there might be something else. Whereas if it's just a 2 marker, we'll see when we get there, it's just literally work the compound interest out. And that's how they kind of boost the questions to 4 and 5 markers. It's not one topic. It's impossible. They've threaded quite a few topics in there. Moanse, I hope you can see the screen. I'm about to start. We've only got 3 questions on compound interest, but we'll get them done. Have I got my calculator open? I have. So let's have a look. Tanya needs £12,000 to set up her candle making business. She invested £6,000 in a savings account 2 years ago, an annual compound interest rate of 4.3%. Tanya will apply for a loan for the rest of the money. She thinks she will need to apply for a loan for over. So it's split into 2 parts. This bit obviously is your compound interest part. And then we've got to work out, is she correct? Isn't she correct for the 3rd mark? But we're looking at generally deciding how much she needs to apply for. So let's have a look at the compound interest part. So she put £12,000 into her account. So we've got £12,000. Oh no, that's what she needs. We've got £6,000. Gosh, flipping it. If she had £12,000 already, she wouldn't need to go for a loan. So she's got £6,000, and we're multiplying it by itself. So we got 1, then 0.43. So that 43 is literally how we know it's 1. Oh my gosh, making so many mistakes today already. So we're looking at 1.043, because obviously if I put 4 there, that'd be 40%. So 4 is there, that's the 4%, and the 3 just goes after it because obviously we've got a decimal there. So yeah, 10%. If we got 10% as a decimal, we're looking at 0.1. If we're looking at 20%, obviously we've got 0.2. If we've got 5%, we've got 0.05, and we've got 4%, so we've got 0.4. And the 1 is because we're saying we're timesing it by itself and a little bit more. So that's our first year of, where's my calculator gone? I think I closed it. First year of interest. Let me get rid of that 12 grand. £6,000. What is going on with my calculator? £6,000 multiplied by our annual interest rate of 1, because we want the £6,000 still, 0.043. So after 1 year, we've now got in our bank account 6258. So that is your starting number for year 2. And if we didn't have the calculator, well, I've still got my calculator open. If I didn't have my calculator open and I closed it by accident, all I do is collect that number and put that in my calculator and do the same again, times by 1.043. But because we've got it in our calculator still, we're just going to press equals and that's done the same sum for us again. So 6527, 6527.094. Okay, and if we kind of, like I said, if we did mess our calculator up, we're just going to go 6258 times by 1.043 equals, and it's still the same number. So if you don't touch your calculator in between the years, you can just press equals for each year. So if it's 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, we just keep pressing equals. However, it's only 2 years. So now we know how much money she's got in her bank after the 2 years. And we know she needs £12,000. So we're going to take 12,000 now, minus what we've got after our loan, after our investment has matured. And we're going to see what's left. She thinks she's applying for a loan of over £5,500. So we've got 12,000, which is what we need, minus what we've made in our bank account. 094 equals 5,472. 5,472 point 90. And then 6. I'm just going to change that. Went off the edge of my pad. Brilliant. So we can clearly see here now then that she thinks she'll need to apply for a loan for over £5,000. Actually, she's incorrect. She needs to apply for a loan less than £5,500. Not massively, but £28 is £28. So incorrect would be our third mark. We've done the compound, we've done the little, so the compound is generally 1 mark. The doing something with it is the 2 marks, and then the justification is the 3rd mark there. That's the question, and that's from the most recent paper. The one before it would be 2132, so that didn't have a compound interest question on. The one before that, 2126, did have one. So, and this is the bigger one, 4 marks for this one. So let's get rid of all of that onto the top. Jessica wants to buy a caravan. So before she wanted to, it wasn't Jessica, was it Tanya, was it? Yeah, so now it's Jessica. And you can see it's the same sort of thing. Somebody wants to buy something. So Jessica wants to buy a caravan that costs £31,695. She paid £25,000 into a savings account 3 years ago. The compound interest rate is 2% per year. Okay, so we've now got 25 times by, don't forget the 1 because that's what you need, point and 0.2 because it's 2%. That is 2 pieces of 100. Let me get rid of that little circle around it. So when we're talking about a decimal, 2% equals 0.02. So we've times it by 0.02 and then we still need our £25,000. So we've got that. And this time, if we put it in smartly, and don't touch the calculator because we can do, oh my gosh, we're typing incorrectly. We won't need to, 25,000, 1, 2, 3, times by, okay, 1.02, 1 year, 25,500, 25,500. So if we didn't have a calculator, we'd go 25,500 times by 1.02 equals. So that's the end of the first year. The end of the second year, we've got 26,000, 010. And again, if we mess with our calculator, we just have that number, times it by 1.02 equals, and then third year, it does say 3 years, 3 years, 26,530, 20p, 26,530 and 20p. If I'm working this out on a online paper, which this is, I'm not writing, I'm doing this, and then I'm just going to write here my times by 3, 1, 2, 3, done. I'm not writing these 2 in there because there's no need. They've seen what you're doing. They've seen you've got the right percentage when you're timesing it by 1.02, and they've seen you're going to do it 3 times. So don't need to write all this in. I'm just making it so you can see the step-by-step approach and you can see what we're doing. Jessica will use the money from the savings account as a deposit for her caravan. She will pay the remaining balance in 6 monthly equal installments. So the caravan cost is 31,695. We've got a savings account now that's been emptied and it's got £26,530 and 20p. That's what's left to pay. So let's get our calculator again. Left to pay, we've got 31,695 minus 26,530 and 20p. So left to pay 5164.80. 5164.80. We've done that part now. She will pay in 6 monthly equal installments. So simply divide that by 6. And that is your final answer, because it asks you how much you're going to pay each month, not how much is left to pay. So how much she's going to pay each month. Whoa. How bizarre. Right, she has to pay £1. That'd be amazing. 164.80 divided by 6 equals £860 and 80p per month. And that's your 4th mark. So you've got your 1st mark here for doing your bit by bits. It might even be 2 marks for that because it's a 4-mark question. Then you've got your taking away for your 3rd mark to find out your end instalment, and then dividing it by 6 for your 4th mark. So you're actually getting 2 marks here for doing the equals part. Let's go driveway. Abdul, and this is like again the 4th oldest exam that's in circulation on the NCFE website. So 3 out of 4 goes to show it does occur quite a bit, and it's 2 marks. And I would say the process for compound interest is the same every time because we're timesing it by. Oh, and look, if you look at this one, wasn't that not the same interest rate as the first one? Yeah. So they haven't done a great deal of imagination here. They've still done the interest rate of 4.3, but they've changed the amount. So it's looking at the start point, timesing it by 1 point, whatever your interest rate is for the amount, how many years equals 2 years equals if it's 3 years, 3 times. And so for me, it's I would say 2 relatively easy marks. And then the 3rd and 4th marks that we've done above, it's justification or asking, taking something away. So as long as we follow it step by step, then reread the question, I think compound interest questions should be ones that you're looking forward to more than others, because we know we've got the process right. Abdul wants to repair his driveway. He applies for a loan to repair. Abdul borrows £3,500 for 2 years. That's an annual compound interest rate of 4.3. He thinks he's going to pay back more. That's an important word. More than £3,800. So we're going to multiply our number again by 1 because we need the whole amount. 0.043, as in like 10% equals 0.1. So 4% equals 0.04. And then obviously 4.3% would be the 4.3. And then we're going to put equals, that's 1 year. And this is just asked, again, this is why this is only 2 marks, because it's asking you straightforward, once you've pressed your equals the 2nd time, is the amount more than 3,800? So times by 1.043 equals 1 year. 3650, 50.50, and I'll do it here again. 3650.50 times by 1.043 equals 2nd year 3807.47. 3807.47. As you can see, he thinks he's going to pay back more than 3800.38. Okay, only £7 more, but is it more than? So even if it's 1p more, it's more than. So is he correct? Yes, he is correct. So honestly, I'll be confident if you're going to compound interest questions thinking, right, I know what I've got to do. I've got to times it. I've got to get the amount and I've got to times it by 1 point and then work out what my interest rate is. If it's if it's 1, if it's 2%, it's 0.2. Think of when you're looking at a decimal. Let me just go down out of my way. If you think about any decimal, where's my pen gone? That is weird. My pen's disappeared. Right, when you're thinking about any decimal, it's out of 100 in theory. That's our yes.
Sorry.
I know.
Is it only compound interest they usually bring out? They don't bring out simple interest, do they?
No.
They don't usually ask simple interest.
No. So of the last 4 exam questions, last 4 exams, there's no simple interest. Level 1 would be a simple interest question where they've said, right, calculate 4% of this amount. Done. So you just, it's generally compound interest. So you're looking at on year. And so basically you're looking at that's your 100. If I want 10%, I'm literally going to say that's 10%. If I want 50%, that's 50%. So when you're thinking decimals, it's still 100. It's just 1.00. So you try when you're converting something into a decimal from a percentage, we divide it by 100. But that's what we've done here. We've just literally divided that number by 100. We're still seeing 100 when we're talking about decimals, but we're not. We're seeing 1.00. So my advice would be with compound interest questions. Why is my rubber not working? No, definitely not working. That is, I think. Well, my mouse should be working. I got like a little gadget for Christmas where it's all plugged in. No, it's working now. Right. So let me stop sharing, and let me stop recording. And if you've got, why is it not coming on?